Welcome back to Champion News Radio, brought to you by championnews.net. Today, we, of course, have our founder and host, JacK Roeser. This is Carol Parisi, and we are having a very interesting conversation on Obamacare a year later. And Steve Tucker was talking about this one unique situation, Steve, right? 50%, this can't be happening. The president promised us that our healthcare costs were going to go down. So you have a client that's paying almost 50% more. Mm-hmm. Is this a unique situation, or what are you looking across the board here?
It's not unique, unfortunately. I wish it was. I brought more: 35.63%, 31.35%, 30.17%, and I could have brought a laundry list.
This is a one-year jump in premium costs
1 year
due to the changes that are being imposed by the Obama health plan as it eases in.
That's correct.
So it caused immediately about a one-third jump in the costs of insurance.
In other words, nothing went down.
Well, I was being very cynical because my husband and I have health insurance through his company, and we were sitting down deciding what we were needing, and we were trying to do the a la carte. Thank God we're very, very healthy, and I think we're at probably $300 a month. Mm-hmm. Extra more than it was from a year ago. But Steve, we were talking about 2014. There's a real key number in 2014. And what is going to be happening in 2014?
2014 will be the beginning of the full implementation of Obamacare. And that is when we, in essence, throw the actuarial tables out the window.
What are little history? What's the actuarial tables for our listeners, just to have some idea?
Insurance as a whole, or health insurance, is about managing risk. And so we have what's called actuaries that insurance companies hire, and they basically crunch the numbers and decide if a case is manageable, if it's worthwhile to enter a market, for instance, if there's not too many mandates like there is in California, which is why we only have about 6 carriers left. Or like Colorado, where the liberals just passed legislation that said that every policy has to cover maternity, even if you don't have the right plumbing.
These are interferences with the regular market,
the private market.
How users and providers come to a decision on what it's worth.
Yeah.
But that's all being distorted.
That's correct.
What happens
right now, and really bad in 14.
Yeah, that's when we throw them out, in essence, because now we're going to do like they did in Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, under Romneycare, which is now called MassCare, they threw out, in essence, the actuarial tables and allowed someone to be able to purchase a health insurance policy, not just children now, everyone. Regardless of their health history, they can buy a policy on a guaranteed issue basis, which means that there is no more management of risk. You have to take them. Worse yet, there is no impetus to continue to pay your premiums. You can hold that policy for as long as you need treatment. When your treatment is over, for instance, if you have cancer, your outpatient therapy, if you need an MRI, you just buy the policy for as long as you need it. Then you can let the policy go and stop paying your premiums, because you know the law states that 6-8 months later, you can buy another policy on a guaranteed issue basis, and that carrier must cover that treatment that you need at that time.
Didn't the government cure that thing by requiring you to buy the policy, period?
Well, don't you go to
Isn't
jail
that
if
what
you
the
don't buy it?
legal battle's about?
Steve?
Yes. I discussed this at the Chicago Tea Party rally on the 18th. Here's what happened. Shortly before Obamacare was signed into law in March of 2010, conservatives were very angry because the Obama administration was saying that if you don't buy health insurance, we're going to use the same code in the IRS that says if you don't pay taxes, we're going to hold you liable. We're going to fine you. If you don't pay your fines, they're going to assess and accrue interest. If you don't pay those fines, up to 5 years in jail. So Pelosi and the rest of them, the malcontents, decided that they're going to apply that same legislation to someone who does not buy health insurance. So we went crazy. Tea Party members, conservatives said, you can't do that. This is tyranny. So they didn't put that in the legislation at the end. Now, here's what happens. First of all, we already know that 40% of American tax filers pay no taxes. Zero. None. Mm-hmm. Okay? So they say that they cannot apply criminal penalties, right? And if you've got 47% of people not paying taxes, the only recourse, according to the USA Today, who came out with an article that said that the IRS lacks clout to collect fines. So if you are making people buy health insurance and they refuse to buy health insurance and you can't put them in prison, the only thing the IRS has left to do is to hold your tax return, right?
But what about those
people who don't pay taxes? They don't have a tax return. So in reality, who's really going to be paying to insure 33 million new people?
The hardworking taxpayers.
Those of us who already pay
the taxes. Dr. Friedman, how is this going to affect you being a doctor and being paid and all this exorbitant amount of, medical school that you go to? And let's talk about some insurance that you have to pay as a doctor, and how is this all going to affect there?
Well, again, the primary thing to understand is that all of this gets completely out of control if costs are not contained. What Steve just described is a recipe for costs. The cost of providing care, you can get on insurance when you want to, you get off it when you don't, to go skyrocketing. So what's going to happen is rationing is an inevitable outcome of all of this, because there's no way these things can be paid for unless somebody puts an external limit on it, and that's going to be the government. And that's where the rationing is going to have to start.
Because the government has done such a good job with Medicare, Medicaid, the post office, and our unsubstantiated debt. You know what? After the break, we are going to continue this very enlightening conversation about Obamacare, how it is going to impact you, the taxpayer, from 2014 on. Stay with us after the break.